Let's highlight some of the biggest winners from the NFL trade deadline in 2024. Obviously, we have some big obvious ones that we're going to point out, like the Chiefs landing DeAndre Hopkins. Some could highlight Devontae Adams going to the Jets as a win if they want to, or Amari Cooper going to the Bills. But we'll give our three biggest ones, and I'll let you kick us off, Dante.
Oh, thank you so much, Jerry. I
Hey,
appreciate it. I
I'm a
appreciate
gentleman.
you rolling out the red carpet for me.
No problem.
Yes, like you mentioned, some of the big hitters and stuff. Of course, we're going to have to mention DeAndre Hopkins getting traded from Tennessee to Kansas City. I mean, we all know how good DeAndre Hopkins is. I think, well, we should know how good DeAndre Hopkins is. I think
I would
people may
hope.
have forgotten about that since he's been in Tennessee, playing for guys like Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Someone like Hopkins' caliber, he's too good for a quarterback like that. And crazy how he goes from Will Levis to Pat Mahomes, and he's already gotten 2 touchdowns. He's been
Oil
there
and
for
water.
2 games. It is, man, DeAndre Hopkins is a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and you're going to give him a quarterback that is at this moment the only person who probably can be in contention for Brady to be the GOAT when it's all said and done. So that is a scary connection. That's a scary duo. The Chiefs are already undefeated with the roster that they had, and now Mahomes actually has a wide receiver one. So great for them, and it didn't really cost them much either. So good on them. I'm going to give a shout out to the Baltimore Ravens and getting a receiver as well, getting Deontay Johnson, who was trapped, who was stuck in Carolina. He did sign with them this past offseason, but there's just been
Stuck.
Bryce Young. He was. Bryce Young, I'm not going to get into that too much. We kind of know how that season started. He's starting now, but we know how the season started there. Deontay Johnson was doing nothing out on the field. And then Andy Dalton comes and things get better, but Andy Dalton got into an accident. Glad he's good. His family's good. But Carolina sucks in the first place, and the quarterback
Thank you.
situation's all over the place. So Deontay Johnson, Baltimore went out and saved him. And I think this is good. This is a great trade for Baltimore because, the Chiefs got Hopkins. The Ravens are really good. They're Super Bowl contenders for good reason, and they have guys like Zay Flowers. They have other decent receivers there, but getting Deontay Johnson just like makes that wide receiver group just a lot stronger. Gives them a ton more strength. A really good wide receiver two could even be a wide receiver one next to Zay Flowers. So Lamar Jackson having an MVP season, so just giving him a Deontay Johnson just helps him out even more and makes the team even better. And then the last one, Jerry, before I roll the red carpet back out your way, I'm going to give a shout out to the Detroit Lions. Choose them here for getting Zadarius Smith from the Browns. Now, we all know they lost Aiden Hutchinson a few weeks ago due to a season-ending injury. And although there is some hope, I think they were holding out some hope that he might come back for the playoffs of the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. Yeah, I don't think that is likely. So after making a trade like this, I think that they are preparing for a playoff run without Hutchinson. And I look at a move like this, it's like you lose Hutchinson, who's one of the best defensive players in the league, and edge rusher and Smith, who I think not only helps them in the regular season, but this is a playoff and Super Bowl move. This is a
Yeah.
move that positions them to, because I'm looking at it right now. They played the Packers last week and they didn't get a single sack on Jordan Love. Getting a guy like Zadarius Smith helps resolve that. He has 5 sacks in 9 games for the Browns. Throw a few stats with you guys, but I think this is a move that long-term move. You're not thinking of just the now, but of the rest of the season. And I think not sacking Jordan Love isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but they want to get to the quarterbacks in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and that's why they made this move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As good as this team has been, which obviously one of mine is the Lions as well. I think
Yep.
you can't gloss over the addition of Zadarius Smith. That was the one, I guess, bright spot for the Lions that was negative, that they couldn't
Sure.
get to the quarterback without Aiden Hutchinson, who's still through 9 weeks of football leading the team in sacks.
Yep.
So, which is kind of crazy. He hasn't played since week 5, and he had 7.5, and the rest of the team has about 6. Zadarius Smith comes in already and has more sacks than the team as a whole out in Detroit. So
That's crazy.
it's definitely, the pass rush was the only thing struggling, I think, on that side of the ball, which they have everybody. They have game records on their at the DB's level. It kind of makes sense. add to Branch, add to the other guys out there, that you get somebody off the edge that can get to the quarterback, and has done it pretty well everywhere that he's played, whether that be in Green Bay, whether that be in Minnesota for a year or two, and then Cleveland, obviously, he was doing his thing with Myles Garrett. So I think throwing him into this Lions system kind of is like the caveat for the Lions to improve their Super Bowl odds, like as a team to come out the NFC.
Yeah.
So
going back to the division too.
Yeah, he's played for the two other teams already, so might as well make it a third. Maybe he takes a stop in Chicago afterwards. Who knows?
Why not?
Shout out to Smith, man. That's probably the best trade, I would say, because every defense needs a game wrecker. Quarterbacks close out the games on offense by default because they have the ball, but you need somebody to go stop them. And you think of, the Aaron Donalds of the world, the Myles Garretts, TJ Watt, guys like that. Maybe Smith could play a similar role like the Chris Joneses as well, to go fuck up a game plan for an opposing offense. So
right.
Shout out to the Lions. I think they definitely needed to make this move. Their pass rush is kind of mediocre. Sure. Secondly, yeah, it's kind of hard not to include the Chiefs, right? I think we've seen Mahomes for these first 6-ish, 7 games before Hopkins got there, pretty much turning, poop to gold with Sky Moore and Noah Gray, and Travis Kelce was also getting
Travis Kelce, who's had the worst start to his career.
A weird up and down little stretch for Kelce. So getting Hopkins revitalizes an offense that needs a pulse. Even though they're undefeated, it's not like they've been blowing teams out through these first 9 weeks. They've been tight games, just like their last Monday night game against the Bucs, which came down to an overtime coin toss, which the Chiefs won. Kareem Hunt punches it in. So it's nice that Mahomes has another option, and that's going to stretch the field, to space the field out even more. Hollywood Brown comes back. There's something to come into where, Hopkins is the receiver one, and we have Travis Kelce. I can just blend in, take the top off the guy, off the defense.
All of a sudden, they have an unstoppable offense.
Yeah, it looks, and they have one of the best defenses in the league. So a three-peat could be loading for them.
The one thing they needed was a receiver, and they went out and got it. So
got just that.
Kudos to them. Yep.
Number 3, it's kind of hard for me to make a choice. I'm going to give an honorable mention before I get to mine to my Minnesota Vikings for trading for a left tackle, which you don't see offensive linemen, get moved, but we lost one with a season-ending injury, and we bring in Cam. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. I'm not going to lie to you. It's no lineman, guys. You got to bear with me. But we did bring in Cam Robinson. I knew it was Cam something, but we lost Christian Darrisaw, and that's a name that sticks out because it's different. But Christian Darrisaw gets hurt. We bring in Cam Robinson to shore up our pass rush defense, which is huge. Aaron Jones should actually be able to get some separation now. Maybe, he's on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping to get a little more ground game and things out the backfield as a pass catcher. Justin Jefferson should open up because Darnold has more time to throw the football. So huge move by the Vikings, but my number 3 actually is going to be to the Washington Commanders, who gave up a whole lot to go get Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. And it sounds kind of crazy trading for a cornerback, but in that NFC East division, when you really think about it, there's a lot of talented receivers.
And they have a piss poor secondary.
They do. Mm-hmm. So who's going to guard A.J. Brown? Who's going to guard Devontae Smith? CeeDee Lamb. I know they're struggling, but CeeDee Lamb is still a top elite receiver. And Malik Neighbors out in New York. So there's a lot of good receivers in those 6 division games that, hey, I have a guy that could be a lockdown corner and gave Mike Evans fits throughout a long piece of his career. And yes, Mike Evans got the better of him sometimes, and Mike Evans is a big body receiver. Malik Neighbors isn't. Devontae Smith isn't. A.J. Brown is, and CeeDee Lamb kind of are, but I think you need that type of personnel in your secondary when you're dealing with talent like that at their receiver position. So shout out to the Commanders. They're going for the jugular here. I was
going to say, the Commanders, were they expecting to be this good when the season started? I don't know. I don't think a lot of us did. But they see that Jaden Daniels is looking like a top 5 quarterback already. Him and Terry have an insane connection. Also, crazy what getting Terry a good quarterback does to someone of his talent. Really, it's like, hey, you have this talent. You might as well not, I wouldn't say they went all in, but, they are making the right steps to becoming a contending team, at least in that division at the very least.
This is huge, man. More so I feel like the NFL is so fickle in terms of a championship window, unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, they're excused from this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a very small window to get things done. So I appreciate the Commanders being like, you know what? Let's capitalize on our young quarterback play. And our offense is playing really well. Let's try to improve what we're doing on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. They addressed it. So I could really just appreciate them taking that leap because, hey, you never know what could happen once you get in. Eli Manning has 2 rings, and he beat the best quarterback and possibly the best team ever
Right.
to do it. So, hey, anything's possible.